Hey everybody, this is Tommy with the Brothers WISP. This isn't going to be a numbered episode, but technically it'd be 166. Today we're going to be chatting with Dennis here with LinkTex, who's also Tower Coverage, and a bunch of other really cool companies in this industry who, and we're going to be going over the broadband data collection that the FCC has just, well, they announced that we could start submitting back in June. And if you're a Colorado if you are a United States internet service provider, you need to be supplying this information to the FCC. If you even have one internet customer as of June 30th, 2022, you need to submit by September 1st. So and there's a lot of changes to this that are a little bit different, that make it a lot more involved than the old 477 system. So with me here is Dennis, right here is where my recording is. Where are you at of, Dennis? Your Mountain Time?
Actually, we're Central Time.
You're Central?
Yes, sir. Yeah, yep. We're Central. So we're just south of St. Louis, about an hour south of St. Louis. Which is probably the simplest place. If I told you our actual town, which is Dittmer, you would go where? And normal stuff, but about an hour south of St. Louis.
Okay. Well, I'm based out of Oregon, Illinois, which means every time I say like, "Oh, I'm driving back to Oregon," to anybody, they think I'm going across the country.
And where is Oregon, Illinois? Because I've been all over Illinois these past couple weeks.
Ah, okay. So, do you know Rockford?
Yes, I actually went through Rockford Tuesday and last Sunday.
Oh, okay. You should have hit me up. I'd have bought you a beer. So it's about 30 minutes south and west of Rockford, kind of opposite direction of DeKalb.
Gotcha.
Well, I guess not the opposite because that's mirrored direction of Sycamore.
Yep, I was up there this past week. So unfortunately, I had another customer to visit, and it was a 5-hour drive for me. So it was not saying that that's not fun, but it's either that or you take a 6-hour flight and then still go get a rental car and crap like that, and that just sucks. So I just drove.
Yeah. No, I totally get you. And I've been flying back to Colorado basically every month to like go see family or something going on because it's summertime and everyone's getting married or everyone's graduating and all the other stuff. So airplanes have gotten they figured out a way to make them less fun. Somehow.
Yep.
So I totally get you on the driving, even though I personally have a deep amount of hatred for driving.
I do too, but sometimes I can get on a couple phone calls and take care of some stuff, and that usually it really makes the time go by, if that makes sense.
That definitely helps a lot if you can have somebody with you to talk and interact with. I think you and I both have the gift of cab, which makes us enjoy the people out here. So let's go back to kind of circle it back to broadband data collection from FCC. We've known a lot of information about this, and it's been coming, and we've known that the FCC is going to be changing what they're looking for from their data for a couple of years now. But the final rules didn't really come out till pretty recently. Let's see, I'm looking back and it looks like March 9th is we got the final data specifications, and then some guidance came out in April, and we got some tutorials on the 31st of May, and then in June we got broadband data collection filings due by September 1st. And then we had a like system preview from the FCC, which everyone thought was absolutely useless. Oh my goodness, the amount of uproar that was on the forums for United States internet service providers after that meeting. Because you couldn't ask any questions. You just got to see how to fill in the online documentation that anybody who knows how to run a computer would have.
Right.
Yeah, it's like, FCC, this is not the crew that you're aiming this for. Right. So that was definitely really not good. And then and the big question was, what makes a certified I believe it's not a certified engineer, right? Is that what they're asking for?
Originally, the original specs say you have to have a PE. End of story. So there's actually two different specs. There's a certifying officer. So you actually have to have an officer or an owner certify that the data is, to the best of their knowledge, accurate. Now, any officer or any owner can do that. And then the other portion is the PE, or the professional engineer. Then right before the July 1st start date, they basically issued a waiver, and they basically clarified and said, well, we're not going to require a PE now. So if you have really two different things, if you have a person that has a bachelor's degree in science and 7 years experience, they can certify it. Or if you have someone that has, and I'm going to use air quotes here, specialized training and 10 years of experience, then they can also certify as well.
So it's 7 years? I thought it was 5.
It's 7 years. I'm pretty dang sure. Yeah. So it's a bachelor's in science and 7 years, or 10 years in specialized training.
Okay. So and then they didn't qualify at all what specialized training was.
And that's in all practicality, I think they've left that ambiguous, if that makes sense. So I would argue that specialized training, have you ever taken a Ubiquity course?
Yes.
Or a Microtech course? You're specialized training. You have specialized training.
Yeah.
That would be specialized training to me. It has not been argued that it is not, so I would go with it and let them correct you afterwards.
Yeah. Well, I mean, or an amateur radio license, that would have to. I feel like that would have to pass muster. If you have any amount of RF like training of any kind, that seems to me like that should be.
It could just be your employee training. You know, hey, we're going to teach you how to set up a radio. We're going to show you how it works, yada, yada, yada. That's specialized training. They really left it open to interpretation. And unfortunately, you have to kind of think like, I guess, lawyers or, politicians, because whenever you're reading all this, you always have to sit there and say, okay, what can I do to, I hate to sit there and use the term of get away with it, but what can I do to make what I have work for me? So, I would argue, again, as long as you have 10 years experience and you've been in the industry for a few years, then my assumption is you have specialized training. So,
yeah. Well,
yep.
So, okay. So, and then, did they qualify anything like industry experience of like, okay, do you have to have been running your ISP for
you have to have some network experience? It doesn't really quantify exactly what you need.
Okay.
So 10 years of experience is probably the general rule of thumb. So on top of that, when we look at the BDC and this engineering requirement, again, the exception letter, the waiver, only qualifies us for this particular filing and the next two. So a total of 3 filings. After that, unless they either extend the waiver or they get it written into the actual rules, we will have to have a PE sign off on it. Now, there are not that many PEs with RF backgrounds to go around. Simple as that. It is just the way it is, and it will get really pricey really quickly. However, in towercoverages.com's case, obviously myself and another engineer, we have 10 years plus experience. Actually, all of our engineers have 10 years plus experience, and we have specialized training. So any of us can certify the data. The bigger question is, what are we actually certifying? And the next question is, what legal recourse does the FCC have to come after somebody? In all of the readings that I've done, as well as talking to specific legal experts, a lot of people think that the PE signing off on it is shifting blame for errors. That's not the case. The PE is just saying, yes, to the best of my knowledge, all this data is accurate. That's all they're doing. They're not actually going to find the PE or take away a PE's license because the data is inaccurate. What they're going to do is they're still going to go after the WISP. They're going to, and that's kind of this whole, I hate to sit there and call out various people, but in the webinars that I've seen, they left out big chunks of data that are kind of relevant. So the whole point of the BDC is that we're going to submit this data. They're going to review it in some way, and or the PE is supposed to review it. And then there's going to be this challenge process. And there's actually multiple challenges. So there's challenges by individuals, there's challenges by other ISPs, and there's challenges of the actual BDC data itself, which we're already finding lots and lots of errors in such in. The challenges by ISPs and individuals, that's really the big ones that they want you to correct. And again, I would sit there and tell everybody that the FCC is not out to get you. They're not out to fine you $15,000 an incident. They want correct data. So all you have to do is respond to these requests that, hey, this person's saying at this location ID is saying that you have invalid data. So what do? You go and remove that dang location ID. Darn the luck. Big whoop-de-doo. Okay. Or you can sit there and argue, we could install them, but they didn't want to pay. There you go. Okay. That's really the bulk of what they want. Okay. Once you get those types of things done, the FCC is not going to come after you for fines, etc. All they want is better data. Now, the data currently is, I cannot argue if it's better or worse, but it is more data and it is more specific. As time goes on, I hate to sit there and say it, but it's kind of going to be crowd-funded because all these exceptions and challenges are going to happen, and people are going to sit there and they're going to go, hey, let's challenge this and let's go this. And that's kind of the whole ideal of the whole process, is that that Spectrum cannot get service in XYZ area, but Spectrum says they have service. You can challenge that as an ISP.
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, well, and so maybe we should roll back a little bit and explain what is this data that we're supposed to be submitting, because I've worked with 477 stuff, and there was two different ways you could generate it. You could either make a shape map and submit, hey, this is where my signal is strong enough to deliver internet connectivity to a customer. And you could say but the issue with that was it was still on the data was only granular down to census block, or what's supposed to be about the size of a neighborhood, which if you're rural, which most of us WISPs are,
it's actually a big
could
area.
be could be almost a square mile.
Or bigger.
You could actually, you know what, I have not worked in truly rural areas. I don't think I've ever seen larger than a square mile, but
go up to Oregon. There's like, tens of hundreds, hundreds of square miles in one census block. So it's basically 10,000 people is what it's supposed to constitute a census block.
Mm-hmm. So you're talking just an insane amount of like area.
It's not as accurate as they were wanting.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe I should go through. So actually next week I'll be at the Indiana Indiana network operators meeting, and
Yep,
I actually
yep, I
be
talked about
speaking
that.
on this topic as well. I could actually go through the Form 477, and then we can talk about the BDC, what is required, and then we
Yeah,
can go from there. So, that sound like a good idea to you?
I love that idea.
All right. So the Form 477 is exactly the same as everybody has done before. There are rumors that the BDC is going to replace it. There are rumors that BDC is just going to become part of the Form 477. There are rumors that the Form 477 is going to go away and BDC will be the only thing there. No idea. It does not happen until the politician signs on the dotted line and says, this is what's going to happen. At this point in time, for this particular filing, we have the requirement that we have to do the Form 477 and the BDC. The BDC stands for Broadband Data Collection. Okay. Form 477, there's really 3 parts to that for the most part that most ISPs should be doing. When we owned our ISP, we're successful in keeping broadband funding and listing our area as being served by doing all 3 of those. Okay. So one is the census tracts. These are which census tracts do you have subscribers in and what is their up and down speed, and are they business and are they residential? Most of your billing systems can generate that. And if they can, because guess what? They should know where the customers are at. If they can, great. If not, we do have a process in Tower Coverage that you can upload an address list or upload GPS locations, and we'll translate that to census tracts for you. So that's part 1. Part 2 is the deployment data. The deployment data is where can you give service in a reasonable amount of time for a price that is not beyond the normal price that you would normally do. And the FCC back in January actually clarified that. They actually defined what time frame it is, and it's basically 2 weeks. So 10 business days, you can provide service at that location. That goes down to these census blocks. Now, as a ISP, I would highly recommend that you do not use most billing systems, because most billing systems are not going to generate coverages based off of your access points, etc. There are some out there, but you definitely need the coverage, and then you overlay the coverage on top of the census blocks. And we have some customers that have 78,000 or 150,000 census blocks in their coverage area. Okay. Just think about trying to count all those on a GIS app or something like that. It really just gets messy. So I'm not saying you can't do it yourself. It is very possible, but again, we do have a process that you basically select your multi-map, and like within an hour, you usually get the results file. So makes it very, very easy to do. The third portion, and this is a portion that some people have become lax on. Originally, they had a Voip requirement to prevent overbuilding. And I do not care if you have one Voip customer and it's your grandma, and you have on your website that you offer Voip service and it's $200 a month. As long as you order or have Voip service and have one customer, you should fill out the Voip form, because that fills in that need to prevent overbuilding. So originally, like I said, when we had our WISP, we had all 3. And whenever they did the initial awards for funds, all the counties right around us were awarded money, but our county was not, because all of our county, or 99% of it, was covered by us. So that is the Form 477 in a nutshell. Now we get to BDC. There are 2 methods of submitting BDC. One is by submitting shape files of your actual coverage area. So the shape files that you used to generate your broadband subscription data, you can use those and submit those. Now, the big problem that we have, not necessarily we as entire coverage, but we as WISPs have, is they want to know supporting data. So if you look at the BDC filing requirements, there's method 1, which is 2 pages, and then method 2, which is the shape file, and then there's 57 other pages. And all those other pages are all the supplemental data. Where does your access point, where is your access point? Which direction is your access point? What is your access point? What antenna do you have? what terrain data did you use to generate it? What propagation model did you use? What variables did you use? What land cover data did you use? What variables did you use on it? A whole slew of supplemental data that you have to have.
That's impressive.
Yeah, I mean, it basically what they want is they want to know where is everything at. That way we can regenerate your coverage and verify that whatever coverage you had specified should match. Okay. Now, whether or not they're going to do that on every particular person, I would highly doubt it. But if someone says, hey, they don't have coverage at this map, so, maybe they may. Okay. Now, the other method is using what we call the fabric data. So the FCC enlisted a company called CostQuest to generate the national fabric data. And what this data is a GPS point for every serviceable location inside the United States. Okay. Now, is this fabric data 100% accurate? No. Will it become better as the rounds go on? The answer is yes. And it's going to be kind of crowdfunded because there's going to be challenges, etc. But what the fabric data is it's basically a fabric ID and then a GPS location. And there's some other data in there with it too, but that's really the big thing. So you take your coverage, your coverage map, you then overlay your fabric data, and then you extract anything that's within your coverage area. And those are your serviceable location IDs. And guess what? That's all you have to submit is just those location IDs as, hey, these are my locations that I'm serviceable in. Okay.
So does that allow like, hey, I'm able to get like half the property is serviceable, but
no,
that
it is just that individual location.
Okay. So it's an individual location, like an I'm sorry, I'm a little bit confused. Like an address
the answer is it should not be an address, even though there may be an address associated with it. It is a specific GPS point.
Okay. All right. So like this position on this customer's roof, I have in the radio and will have and have internet service.
Correct.
To whatever. Okay.
Yeah.
That's cool.
So now there are some oddball things. Obviously we have garages that are detached, buildings. Some of those may have location IDs. Some of them may not. There are outhouses that have location IDs. Literally little bitty buildings. Okay. Again, and then there's anchor institutions like churches and schools that some of them have location IDs and some of them don't. Even though, because we actually had a customer that they had submitted, they have done their BDC stuff and they submitted it and they're like, well, why is this location invalid? You gave me the location. Why are you giving me invalid locations? So again, you have to go to CostQuest. You have to sign up with them. They will have you sign a license agreement, and then you will be able to download the counties of location IDs that you actually offer service in.
How much does it cost to sign up with them?
$0.
Okay. All right.
Yeah,
so
that's totally free to get those location IDs. And if you have another county that you're in that they did not give you, you can request that and they should be able to give it to you. Okay. In our process, which hopefully will be going live next week, and when I say ours, towercoverage.com, you will basically take that. They're going to give you a CSV file. That CSV file is all your location IDs. Basically, you will upload that to us, and then you will order a BDC deployment data file, which is literally, we're going to take your coverage, we're going to compare it to your the location IDs serviced, and we're going to output, here is the speeds and the type of service and the location IDs that you cover.
Okay. So what happens when so what am I submitting to you in like CSV format?
So in CSV, you're going to upload the CSV that you downloaded from CostQuest.
Oh, okay.
So because
all right, and so then you'll take
CostQuest has not created any type of process for any service provider to get any data.
Okay.
So it is what it is. But then,
so I'm give you the CostQuest stuff, then you turn around and say, hey, because of all the information that you've entered already into Tower Planner, this is where you can deliver connectivity services.
Right. And we're going to give you a list of all your IDs that you can get service. Usually that should be within an hour. We say up to 4 just to be safe, but usually it's within an hour that you should get an email with that CSV file. And that CSV file, if you have everything done in tower coverage, listed your speeds and listed your technology codes, it should be ready to be uploaded to the FCC.
So, and is that with just the normal tower coverage subscription?
So the subscription's required. There is going to be a BDC deployment data filing fee, or not filing fee, but fee. I think that's going to be like $250.
Okay. Yeah, and there's you can go to towercoverage.com/pricing, and there's all sorts of breakout of it.
Yeah, you'll need a subscription. You'll need all of your coverages entered into our system to be able to do anything. And then there's an orders, and basically you can order the deployment data, the subscription data, and the BDC data. And then we will have an additional option for if you want us to physically file. So in other words, one of our people will take all of your data that you give us, and we will log into your account and file it all online with the FCC. And then the very last thing is we also have another cost that would be if you want us to actually certify it, to be the certifying party.
Okay. And so you guys can be the certifying engineers and make it so that, guys are able to just say, all right, this problem has been solved. I don't need to go back and revisit it 20 times.
Yep. So, the way I look at it is, if you get the deployment data from your not your ISP, your billing system, then really you're under $1,000, including certification for all the FCC stuff per round. So again, you would be under $2,000 a year to do 2 filings. And that's assuming that your coverage grows throughout the year and you actually have to change it.
Yeah. Well, and you can resubmit. Well, and you actually do need to submit every new customer. You can't just resubmit old data. Which, if you have for most guys with just the amount of turnover that we have, you're gonna have data. You should have some change. Ah, man, that's gonna be rough for a lot of guys to handle. Because like normal ROI on a customer isn't a whole heck of a lot. Do you suspect that some of these requirements might change over the coming years, just with how much ISPs are going to be frustrated with this?
So the big thing is, so WISPA, along with several other companies, lobbied to get this waiver. If the waiver goes away, where you have to have a certified PE, your costs go from basically $2,000 to, last I heard, about $14,000.
Ooh.
So again, I think there will be another industry. I think there'll be another, a whole new industry born out of this. But the big thing is, we have some customers that they have, they might make, $2,000 a year in profit because they're still small and they only have 20 customers, etc. And it is what it is. But this is the cost of doing business and what we call an entry barrier to the industry. Whenever I started my WISP back in 1999, there was no entry barrier. The barrier was the cost of my T1. That was it, But I mean, this is the way the industry has been going because, one, we want these broadband maps, even though I don't really, the honest reason is because everybody wants funding. They want the government to give them a handout, and they want the government to do all that. And because of that, now we have all these requirements. That's really the general skinny of it. There was actually a gentleman by the name of John Stossel. I'm sure you've probably heard of him. He used to be a reporter, and he still has a YouTube show and such. And he literally did an episode fairly recently on the cost of getting into a industry. And this one was a lady that she wanted to braid hair. Doesn't take any talent to braid hair, not that I know of. But because she was doing something with hair, she had to have a cosmetology license or cosmetology license. And guess what? She would have to go to school. She would have to do all this, and it has no bearing on what she actually wants to do.
Yeah.
But there you go. That's how the government likes to regulate and how they create these barriers to entry. It does really stink that this has happened and it is occurring. But keep in mind, we've had Form 477 for a number of years, and the costs have been fairly low. We're trying to keep our costs low for the BDC. We're trying to automate everything. That's kind of the hard part for us, is that doing the BDC manually is really easy. It's not complicated for us. But doing it in an automated fashion to where you can upload your data, you can order which files you want, you can update all the data, and then it outputs a file, that gets a little bit more complicated, especially whenever you have multiple customers uploading data, et cetera, all at the same time.
Yeah, no, I'm doing things like, and yeah, all of us know that, hey, I can change an IP address on a router. That's super easy. I know how to log in. I know how to go to that menu. I can change that interface. That's super easy. Automating it requires a lot of pre-processing work before you can
a lot of thought
do anything
just to figure it out, what's the best way of doing it, and then a lot of programming just to put it all down on in code.
Yeah, and then all the little sub, like, oh, in case of this situation, well, we do need to actually put it, if you're using a Juniper, then you need to do this thing. If you're doing a Cisco, well, you need to hit this flag so that, it's not going through CPU. Or if you're doing, all those that stuff. I mean, that's the
don't forget to write
stuff.
mem at the end.
Yeah. Yeah. Save config. I have done that. I have not saved the config.
There's not a person out there that's worked on any of those pieces of equipment that has forgot to save at some point in time. They probably made the mistake once, but
at least,
yeah. No.
Yeah, no. So then moving forward, you mentioned a few of these times of like crowdfunded data. And I've been looking through, there looks to be a lot of crowdsourced data information that's coming through the FCC. I actually downloaded the FCC speed test app because they reference that, and I've been playing around with that. It's terrible. And it does do automated speed tests, but like, do you really want to be doing automated speed tests on your mobile device?
Yep.
So it's definitely very, very interesting. That said, I always see the like view of the network engineer is like the consumer advocate. Like his job is to deliver stuff for you so that you don't call him ever, because the last thing I as a network engineer want to do is interact with a customer. Not that I dislike, I love chatting with people. But like, if you're talking to me, that means I've done something wrong. And, because people expect internet service to be a utility. And I feel like this is another step in that like world where internet service is going from the Wild West. Like you used to be able to submit a 477. You just, hey, what are my addresses? The FCC provided you with a system to pull, like here are addresses, spit them into a census block tract map, and then you're done. That's what I did. I definitely didn't spend the energy and time in making shape files for all of my customers. Until Colorado came around, it was like, hey, no, you can't do anything besides make shape files.
I think the big issue that the FCC originally had, and it wasn't something that the FCC did, but Especially with WISPs, what we had was a lot of WISPs that they would sit there and they would just draw a circle around their tower at 10 miles or 15 kilometers, whatever it may be. And that actually was probably the bigger, uglier thing in the ugly side of what the Form 477 originally was, and it allowed for that obviously gross overestimating reporting to occur. Now they're getting down to the serviceable location level, but they don't, there's no company out there that has a 100% accurate serviceable location database. Microsoft tried to make one. I know that there's errors in it. And now CostQuest, they got paid big bucks to make one. And obviously there are errors in it. We know that. So it is what it is. And it will only hopefully get better. It does stink that all of this data is, already messed up to begin with, but, we're going to have to work through it. So the simplest point that I would like to make is if you have not filed Form 477 or BDC before, you need to. I do know that there are some very specific people, some very stuck up people with things up there, that they are itching to go after people this time around because they have warned them and they have emailed them and they have sent them official letters stating, you have not filled out Form 477. You are an ISP. You need to correct it. And obviously it's a stupidly official letter that mentions all kinds of stuff that really don't really matter. If you just say, hey, you are required to do it, you need to do it. If you don't, we're going to fine you $15K a time per incident. There are ISPs out there that have not or have never filled Form 477.
Oh, there's a lot of guys.
Yeah. But the issue is that if we can get everybody to fill out the Form 477 and the BDC stuff, it may not be 100% accurate, but again, it's just a starting point. And that's kind of the whole challenge process. The whole challenge issue is for the bigger issue that comes up after the fact. And as long as you submit forms that are in good faith, your best guess, because that's all propagation modeling is best guesses. Okay.
Yeah.
Once you submit that propagation information and you submit all that, then at that point in time, you have done your due diligence. Now you just have to file, just take some of these challenges. And I don't know, the FCC started this whole internet complaint department. Did you see that?
Yeah, I've been kind of following it. It's interesting. I get where it's coming from because you get like some frontier service and the guy like I've seen orders go through on a DSL on a copper circuit, and the ILEC, the incumbent, is like they just close out the ticket. Like there's 2 days, somebody just randomly closes out the ticket and no work is done. I've talked to the guy's manager and been like, yeah, and the guy was like, yeah, the guy just closed it out. Sorry, well, I'll reopen it. You need to resubmit it and I'll set it up to somebody else. So like there's some amazing terribleness in the industry. I'm certain that the FCC is wanting to kind of fix as well. Like not even just WISP. Like I have seen CenturyLink claim broadband service, which for that area was 25.3, and you go to CenturyLink's website, there's no address at all in that census tract that they will offer more than 2 megabits per second down because it's DSL and they just don't care, but they claim 25.3. And so like that, and so I've made arguments to the state of Colorado saying, hey, they're saying that they have broadband, but your definition of broadband does not apply to what services are available if you spit it into their whole system.
Right. And the bigger issue is who actually does enforcement, who actually does that. And then with the entire shortage of everybody, not enough workers for anything, or we can't even get our IRS paperwork filed unless it's 100% accurate, because there's not enough IRS workers to look at it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, and from that, as you were saying, like, guys are wanting money to expand coverage in low density areas. If the government doesn't know where low density areas are, where people don't already have coverage, does the BDC require VoIP stuff still? Is the FCC?
So no, it all it does, like I said, all it does is you take your coverage maps, you overlay the fabric data for your counties, assuming that any counties that you offer service, you should have the fabric data for, and then you pull out the fabric data, the IDs for anything that overlaps. That's all they want. That's the simplest, quickest, and easiest method to getting that.
Okay.
So the Voip requirement was originally for, I'm trying to remember what round. There was a number of funding rounds. It's almost been like 4 or 5 years now. But now like this whole BEAD program, the whole BEAD program, literally, if you are an unlicensed fixed wireless operator and you have no CBRS, then you're not even considered possible to be funded, and you can be overbuilt by BEAD.
Yep,
which is
very much so.
Which is stupid. I mean, that's going to be, I guarantee you, someone's eventually going to file a lawsuit or something like that. And I'm surprised WISPA hasn't done it already, because yes, we want to get funding, we want to be included, but the issue is that they're not including us, or at least the unlicensed wireless ISP. So
yeah.
It does really stink that actually is occurring. I mean, at least they acknowledge that GAA is licensed-ish, even though whatever, but it is what it is. But yeah, the big thing is the cost of entry and the BDC stuff. Originally, we, like, over the past couple of years, we've been doing Form 477s. Our average cost was like, I don't know, maybe $600 per filing, depending on what they needed. And everything we do is there's no contract. It's all a la carte. So if you need the broadband data or the broadband subscription data, we can get you that. If you just want if you already know all that and all you want is your BDC data, you can just get that. Okay. We try to make it pretty easy. Maybe you want the broadband subscription data and the certifying party, we can get you that. Okay. Again, we have options for those. We don't want to make it complicated for anybody, but the big thing is, yes, you do need to have an active towercoverage.com subscription.
Yeah. Well, and yeah, you've supported the Brothers WISP for years and years. I think I remember a time when you guys didn't, but it was a long time ago.
It was like 2 years ago or something like that. Yeah.
Okay. So. Yeah. It was a pretty long while back. So, I definitely want to say thank you for all your support, helping keep this, group going and helping get like this information out for guys. And you're definitely on the Slack group, and you're on the forums. I see you all the time, contributing and helping people out with general information. This is, in my opinion, what really does help out, guys. Like, yeah, you got to make a buck too. You got kids to feed. You've got a house payment to make. Like, I can't blame you for making money, but like, you definitely offer a lot of value to the industry, which is definitely going to be interesting. So with the crowdsourced data, do you think is that just largely going to be people submitting information to the FCC? Have they clarified any of that at all?
So they have several rounds of challenges. I think they're scheduled, but they're not offering challenges yet. We have to get through this filing period through September. Okay. Or September 1st. And I think in October or something like that is when they will be starting the challenges. One round is literally ISPs challenging the BDC fabric data, saying, hey, like I said, one of our customers, they literally stated that we have a fabric ID that we cover. And a matter of fact, that fabric ID, that exact location, we actually already service. We have a CPE there, but yet they're saying it's not serviceable or it's not a valid fabric ID. Let me phrase this. It is a valid fabric ID. It is not something that you can submit that you actually have service there. Why would you include it? I don't understand CostQuest's reasoning there, but yeah, those are so. And unfortunately for us, CostQuest did not define. Here's your fabric data, and oh, by the way, here's a specific set of circumstances that we've given you enough data for that defines that service as not being a serviceable or an address that you could actually submit to us. But yet on their system, when we upload it, it will kick it back and it'll say, oh, this fabric ID is not valid for entry. So you basically just have to take it out. That's what they say currently. Now, the end result is you're going to take those out. I think she had like 10 or 15 of them that she had to take out. And then once we got it uploaded and submitted, all is good. Now we have these 10 or 15 fabric IDs that we know we can service, and some of them are actually being serviced currently. So now when that challenge process opens up, for us to submit the most accurate data possible, it would be prudent for that ISP to challenge the BDC and say, hey, these fabric IDs need to be opened for me to be able to say I'm servicing them. However, that does not necessarily mean you have to do that. It is completely volunteer that you would actually, submit for correction.
But if you submit, like, that seems to me like, hey, I'm trying to do a good job here. Like,
right,
I'm working really hard.
I don't know if that's actually going to matter too much or not. I can't sit there and tell you. I'm sure it'll be in some report somewhere that some bureaucrat's going to see, and that's probably all that's going to come about it. But it is what it is. And then at some point in time, they will open up the broadband maps to challenge processes, so that then you can look at other broadband maps in your area and say, hey, like you said, CenturyLink doesn't offer 25 by 2. All they offer is 2 meg. So that is not considered served. You are marking it as served. I'm going to challenge this area as it being served. Again, I don't know how they're going to do that. I don't know if they're going to do it by location fabric ID or, I can't sit there and tell you. And then there'll be a challenge process for individuals to sit there and say, hey, here's my location ID. I tried to get your ISP to serve me, but they said no. And now you have to respond to that challenge and say, well, the customer was a dick, so no, I'm not going to service them. Or maybe you just might say, well, we went there and we couldn't get in because he had 2 dogs running around. There's all kinds of reasons for those, but those need to be a valid reason. Yes, we can service them. However, he doesn't want anything installed on his roof. So guess what? We can't, there's no way for us to service it.
Yeah. So that definitely would be one of those, like, hey, these people won't do it. I've had customers who I was like, I apologize. Our connective, where you're at, you're behind a hill. The guy who installed you was an idiot. He shouldn't have installed you. That was 5 years ago. And every summer your internet goes to terribleness because a cornfield is right in between you and us. And, you're trying to shoot through a 1/4 mile of corn then to my tower, which you don't have line of sight to. And like, I tried explaining that to the customer, and she still went to Facebook and was like, oh, rah, internet service company is, is no longer, they can't cover anybody out here. They're shutting down. And it's like, no, it's just just where you're at. Like, I had a bad installer who did bad work and shouldn't have ever. But
in those cases, I would always tell my customer that, one, you need to respond to the customer and simply state, no, we're not shutting down. This is only you. Your installation is unique, or every installation is unique. And currently we had to unsubscribe you because of where you want the CPE or something like that. And then just let it go at that point in time, because more you interact, more they're going to get pissed off, and then they're going to start doing more and more, and just let it go and it'll naturally die out normally we get those things too, on WISP talk and on all those things. We get people go, oh, I was trying to do this and it doesn't seem intuitive. And I'm like, oh, I'm sorry. We can only make it so intuitive, if that makes sense, and we have hired, some UI guys. The hard part is that, especially with all the BDC stuff coming out and all the back end stuff that we're trying to do, programming time is limited. We only have, we only make so much money. We can't really invest more money than what we make in it. So it is what it is.
Yeah, and we're not trying to offer gig by gig at every single of our serviceable locations. We're trying to offer what's going to work and make your life good, and usable. What's what can we're not throwing money at this problem. None of us are government entities.
That's the issues they think that we are sometimes. And with as much money as the government is sinking into the broadband industry, I mean, there are definitely some fly-by-night operators that all they want to do is they want to get that government money, and they want to get rich off of it for the next 5-10 years, and that's it. And they don't care what happens to the business. All they care about is getting that government funding.
Yeah, I was just looking at a bunch of little news articles. Apparently, broadband network capex, so capital expenditure, hit 86 billion in 2021. And that's only for United States. So, the amount of money that is being thrown into internet connectivity, the government needs to improve upon what the 477 is. And what the data looks like and how they make decisions off of that.
My personal opinion is that the government should not be involved in the whole FCC forums. They shouldn't be involved in. They should not be giving out any money. The problem will solve itself. If there is a business case to put internet up, chances are someone is going to do it.
Yep.
Okay. Will it come later or sooner? That's up to how much money is out there and where they're at. But, I find it, when you move out to the country, your options for internet are limited. It is what it is. And I really think the free market will take care of all of that.
Yeah. So, well, unfortunately, you and I both.
But unfortunately, that's not going to happen. They're just going to keep pouring money in. So, it is what it is.
Yeah. Well, and so and I'm certain we're going to have a cast here soon with a bunch of guys. So hopefully, I'll be able to get you on one of our regular shows. And
just email me. You know how to get a hold of me.
Yep, I have your direct line now. So, well, thank you, Dennis. I really appreciate you showing up. Hopefully, everyone's gotten some good information, and everyone's going to be able to, keep moving forward. The FCC has been given teeth in this latest round of broadband reporting, guys. Don't disregard this and moving forward. There's some of us who've been fly-by-nighters and we've been able to get away with that. And, it's maybe you might be able to continue to, but I'd really recommend. No. Yeah, it's going to be hard.
Going to.
Yeah. I'd recommend spending some time because the bar has been lifted. It's going to be hard on the new guys. I've seen 2 or 3 guys just in the last 2 months who on the forums who are like, hey, I'm starting out at WISP. I'm looking at doing this. What do I need to do? It's like, dude, this is not the time. So definitely spend some energy on looking at what this is. And maybe if you only have 5 locations, you can figure this out and you can muddle your way through, and it's going to be an afternoon that you're going to have to waste. But once you've got a bunch of customers, this is going to be something you really, really do need to work on. And the FCC has teeth now to come after you. So be wary of it. definitely have a good understanding of that. And we have a very reliable sponsor who's been taking care of this podcast for years, who has services. So please take a look at towercoverage.com. Dennis, if somebody's wanting to get a hold of you, how do they do that?
The easiest way for tower coverage is we have a support@towercoverage.com email account. Just send us an email. We also have our main office number, 314-735-0270. And Link Technologies. Obviously, we do sell hardware. We do consulting services as well. You, of course, can visit us at linktex.net for anything like that. But as far as towercoverage.com, it's all self-service. Go to towercoverage.com, click sign up. We offer a free 14-day trial. Sign up for an account, create the account. You'll get some tutorials, all that kind of good stuff. We have a wiki. We have our YouTube channel that offers tutorials on how to use the software, how to use it accurately, etc. And we also offer a support number. I think that's between 8 and 5, which I believe is 636-671-6262 for any direct towercoverage.com questions. That's
awesome. Like, I don't even give out my phone number.
Again, we do have, we are a large enough company that we have dedicated people to answer the phones. We actually get that quite a bit with consultants that will get calls because they can't reach their consultants. And, it's just a single guy. And that's how a lot of us get started. But, we actually have a number of consultants, a number of engineers on staff. So we have support staff. We have a help desk ticketing system. But for towercoverage.com, we have that number. You can give us a call. If they are unavailable, you can leave a voicemail. We'll give you a call back. Email us. We also have a chat system on the towercoverage.com site that if you want to use that as well, that is another option. We try to not limit your options to get a hold of us. But I'll be honest with you, especially this day and age, just getting someone to pick up the phone and call is really hard sometimes,
Yeah.
So, yeah. But we do offer that. We have a phone number. We have our email. It's really up to you on whichever way you want to talk to us.
Cool. All right. Well, thank you. You can reach me at on our patreon.com. If you sign up there, patreon.com/the Brothers Wisp. Sign up there, give us a few bones. You can join our Slack group. There, I'm constantly there. Dennis as well is there assisting, answering questions. lostcreek.tech.com, or no, just lostcreek.tech is my website. Tommy at Lost Creek. You can shoot me an email there. I'd be more than happy to answer questions, help you out. thebrotherswisp@gmail.com is another way you can reach out to me. So plenty of different ways you can reach out to me. I don't give out my phone number. Possibly it might be on my website, but I don't just randomly give it out. So
I get enough spam calls.
Yeah. So feel free to reach out to me. Hopefully this is useful information. And if you shoot us questions, I can forward them on to Dennis, and I'm certain he'd be happy to answer a bunch of general questions. He's always answering questions. So if you have questions that come out of this, either go to Dennis directly or bug us, and either through my research or asking around in the group, try to answer them in some of the preceding or coming up podcasts. So once again, you have until September 1st to be submitting your broadband data collection info. And the FCC recommends that you do it as early as possible, because there is some there's errors that show up for inexplicable reasons. So get on top of that and try and get that taken care of. This is not something that we as an industry are really going to want to wait around on. So, all right, y'all have fun, take care, and catch y'all later.